kia hau nei, ki tōku nei whakaro i te ao Māori, te tapa whā, te taha hiningaro, te taha wairua, te taha whānau, te taha tinana, ana te tapa whā o te tangata. Ki au nei, koina te tino nako o te me ki, identity, and ahakoa kōwai, ahakoa nohea. Kia hau nei, ko tāku nei taha Māori, e whā ngā kōkona ki au, te tuatahi ki te atua, te tuarua ki te whenua, te tuatoru ki ngā tupuna, te tuawhā ki ngā tangata e ora tunu ana. E rā mea he mea tino pai kia hau, e mau ana tēnā tikanga kia hau, e whāngai tērā tikanga ki aku tamariki kia hikoi rātou tika, ka kore rātou e ngaro. Mena e mohe ana rātou, tō rātou maunga, tō rātou awa, waka, marae, iwi hapu rānei, heke iho ki tō rātou whakapapa, ara te identity ki au. I knew my identity from birth. My grandmother brought me up. My grandmother took me from my mother, as she gave, cut the cord, wrapped me up, put me in the car and took me up to where she lived. So my identity started from that first cut. She couldn't speak English. She could only speak Māori. She had her older brother with her and a younger sister. They all couldn't speak English. So my identity, I suppose, started with the reo that they spoke around me. I can't say where the beginnings are because, yeah, every day of my life is me, you know. I don't even know when I can say when did I first realise about my identity and stuff and who I was. It was embedded in me. While I was sleeping, my kuia would sing to me our whakapapa and our pepeha. When she married my grandfather, my kuia comes from one place, and that's Uruafuru and Welsford. My grandfather comes from many iwi down the line, Waikato, Maniapoto, Tuwhareto, Tarawa, Tuhaurangi. And my grandmother fed me all that pepeha from all those tribes. So, yeah, where did it begin? From birth. I couldn't speak English until I was 9. I never went to school till I was 9. That's when my grandmother died. And I came back to my parents. And they put me in school. And at that time, I got caned on the first week for speaking Māori. I couldn't speak English. The whole week, every day, I got the strap. If I said the Māori word aloud, I get a cane. The second week was the same. In the end, my first Māori word was and I was proud because it was my first Pākehā word, you know. I didn't realise what it was. And then I come home and said it to my mother, why did you get the strap for? Because I said, and I got a hiding. My dad's a minister, eh? I got a hiding for swearing at home. So it didn't matter what I was doing. So I ended up being a rebel after a while. After my nan died, she was my world. It's the only world I knew. And the only world I was in was the Māori world. Then I come back to my parents who shoved me into this Pākehā world, crashed my whole world around. I think I became a drunken at the age of 12. That's how rebellious I became. When I lost my nan, I let everything go, chucked everything out the door, and I became this staunch, rebel 10-year-old girl. The cops coming over to talk to him. And the Pacific Island fellow looks at me, sees my face, he goes, oh, kia ora whai. He goes, yeah, what's up? What's happening with the bros? He goes, oh, whawhai's happened. These fellas came over, they were attacking this whānau here. I goes, okay, how do you know they were whānau? How do you know that they were whānau? He goes, oh, those two over there said, those his cousins, his brothers, and blah, blah, blah. I go, so at the end of the day, what's your fellas call? Why are they handcuffed? He goes, oh, they didn't handcuff them in the end. I don't know what the take was, you know. At the end of the day, it was a wasted space and time. Those fellas that they dealt to had gone, but this fellow was holding on to these kids, and they didn't know we were coming. They didn't know that their mother had rocked in. But the other three police were holding her two boys, yeah. And all we could hear was her yelling at them. And the 6 boys that were over here looked at me and goes, you sit there. No, I'm saying it nicely, eh? You sit there and don't move. He gave it to my bro, he goes, what's up here? They're going to take my boys and lock them up. He goes, well, what did they do? These kids already told us what they did. They ain't going to go away for a little bit, you reckon? No, they're going in for the night. Her boy was 15. Okay, you know, isn't that illegal? Isn't that illegal? He's not even 16. And you're first taking him away. What's his crime? You know, all those, you go say, what did he do? What did he do? And the boy's going, I done nothing wrong. I done nothing wrong. I goes, oh, yeah. Okay, I can't get involved in this because I will. You know? I says to my mate, go with your boys to the police station. I'll take these fellas home. So we went and I took these fellas home and we dropped them off at the house and told their father what was happening. And at the end of the day, these 3 policemen gave the Pacific Island fella to talk to the Maori boys. And the Maori boys wouldn't talk to the Chinaman or the tupakea. And I don't blame them. The way they were talking to these two was really not, it made me angry. Just sitting there watching how they treated our people. They really did apparently the other fellas really got done over by those policemen because they weren't resisting arrest and all that kind of stuff, you know. So obviously you're going to get a dong. But these 6 fellas are just fresh out of New Zealand, come over for a holiday and they were freaking out big time. And I just said to them, oi, this isn't our town. This is not our whenua. You can't do this here. Just remember, you know, this whenua don't belong to that Pākehā fella over there in the uniform. Or that Samoan fella belongs to the tangata whenua here, the Aboriginal people of this place. You fellas go and hook up with them and find out how they roll. You'll understand how they're getting treated in their own country. We get that back home, but not as bad as these fellas. So, ko taku nei kōrero kia rātou, this isn't our whenua. We got a home. You fellas just come from there. Those 2 boys, they don't know, they've never been home. No? And that's why they were the ones that instigated that whole thing. At the end of the day, these 2 started the fight with those fellas. But because those fellas were a gang, they got locked up. They got taken away. And at the end of the day, I said to these boys, don't you play that fellas game. Don't you fellas come here and do that. It's not, this is, our people are being shamed by you fellas doing that mahi. You know? I don't even want to know about the other group, but you fellas, I know you. I know your parents. You don't want to shame our people any more than you've done now. So yeah, it's all about them not knowing, and it started with these 2 who don't know who they are or where they come from. They just know your mother, father, brothers, sisters, and their bros. You know? Tika ana tō kōrero. Ko kore rātou he papa te noho ana, kua naro. E mau ana rātou te ao Pākehā, koina te raruraru, te mea whawhai, te mea patu, te mea patu wāhine, e tahi o ngā Tani, ahakoa kōwai rātou, ngā wāhine, e whawhai ana ngā Tani ngi ngā wāhine. Tēnā te take kore rātou, e mōhio ana i o rātou ake ao me ki, i roto i tēnā ao te whakapapa. Hoki ana au i ngā wā katoa ki ngā whakapapa, ki ngā pepeha, rāwatahi te tino nako o te kowai ahau. I'll tell you what, I'll talk about those fellas that are in the room there. They started a march this year with no deal. They knew, the majority knew what their iwi and their hapu was, and that's it. So from there, it was not so much I gave them that information, I gave them areas where they can go and research those places. And if I knew what their marae was and it was close to me, I could tell them, yeah, you ring this marae and you ask them for your pepeha. And this is pretty much how that, once they got that information back, their whole mindset changed. Then I introduced a sentence structure to introduce their grandparents, their parents and them. And then that was in that second wave. The third wave was when they were able to add their husband, their children and their grandchildren. So it empowered them, just playing with pepeha and whakapapa. It gave them a more sense of who they were here. And as it is, the majority of them have their mahi hanging on the wall, so their children and their grandchildren can see it and ask, so they share. So it's empowering not just them being in the class, but their whole family. And now they're playing with all those, they're creating songs. This fella just sung one of the songs that his moko wrote, just reading off their pepeha, off the wall. And moko put it to a tune, one of the nursery rhymes tunes. He comes in and sings it today. You know, che kolo, go on kolo. Yeah, and that's my rebel, she's half Australian. And she's always don't know how to do her Māori vowels, but he's been teaching her to sing a I haka mana para tawa ngā whae. And you can tell the Australian twang when they use, it scratches my ear, but it's changed. It's changed. His whole whakaaro has changed. He's been here for over 30 years, the old fella that did the mihi. He's been over here for over 25 years. Been home a couple of times. Every time he goes home, dish out the money. In Australia, you got all this money, you can do this, that, and that. When he goes home, he's sitting on the taumata, but he won't say anything. He's sitting there and he doesn't know what's going on. He goes, that's why he came. He goes, I want to go home. I want to sit on my taumata and I want to stand and speak. I goes, go for it. Go for it. All I can do is give you an idea or a structure. It's up to you how you bring it off the page. You talk with your mouth, your eyes, your ears, your hands, your everything. Talk with your body. Chuck something in your hand. If you're talking about the atua, then point to him. If you're talking about the whenua, then point to the whenua. You're talking about these areas, you use your whole body so the fella listening can understand what you're saying.